The question is not just why the UAE has stepped away from OPEC discipline, but what that choice signals. Two competing explanations anchor this shift: compulsion or as a reaction, and both point towards a more assertive, less coordinated Arabs strategy. Start with compulsion. The UAE is moving towards a clear strategic position: maximize output while the opportunity still exists. With expanded capacity built through Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, the calculation is simple: accelerate monetization of reserves before structural shifts in global energy demand shrinks in long-term value. In that framework, holding back supply to defend prices, the traditional OPEC playbook, becomes counterproductive. A high output strategy also aligns, at least directionally, with the preferences of Donald Trump-style energy thinking: more supply, faster monetization. But that alignment carries a cost. It directly challenges the price management model of Saudi Arabia, introducing friction at the core of Gulf coordination. The second explanation is that this has been done as a reaction. Conflict, especially involving Iran, tends to expose fault lines. Emirati voices hinting that recent tensions revealed true friends suggest a perception that the UAE was left to manage pressures alone or was constrained in ways it found uncomfortable. If so, stepping away from OPEC discipline becomes more than an oil decision. It becomes a political signal. It reflects a willingness in Abu Dhabi to prioritize autonomy over alignment, even if that strains established regional frameworks. Whichever driver dominates, the implications converge. A UAE less hitched to OPEC introduces uncertainty into the Gulf's coordination architecture. Even if formal ties within the Gulf Cooperation Council remain intact, perception shifts matter. Investors value integration and predictability. A UAE seen as drifting from a coordinated bloc invites a reassessment of risk. The fundamentals, capital, infrastructure, governance, remain strong, but the premium attached to regional cohesion begins to erode at the margins. This is where UAE's internal structure becomes strategically relevant. With roughly 85 to 90% of its population composed of expatriates, the state is not held together by traditional national cohesion. It functions as a high-efficiency economic platform where stability, opportunity, and predictability substitute for identity. That model works exceptionally well in normal conditions, but in periods of stress, behavior shifts. Expatriate populations do not anchor themselves to the state in the way citizens do. They respond to risk signals. In a sustained crisis or even a perception of instability, the outflow would not be sudden collapse, but gradual erosion. Capital becoming cautious, talent becoming mobile, and lower tiers exiting first. The vulnerability is not dramatic breakdown, but silent loss of confidence. That reality places a strategic constraint on Abu Dhabi's room for maneuver. The UAE cannot rely indefinitely on a population base that is, by design, temporary and transactional. Its resilience ultimately depends on the stability of the ecosystem it is embedded in. Geography and economics both point in one direction: the Gulf. However strong its global linkages to partners like Israel or beyond, the UAE's structural security and economic continuity remain tied to its immediate neighborhood. Looking 10 years out, the success of this gamble depends on balance. A produce max now strategy can generate significant fiscal surpluses, but only if those revenues are rapidly converted into durable, diversified growth. At the same time, regional alignment, especially with Saudi Arabia and within the Gulf Cooperation Council, cannot be allowed to fracture beyond repair. Strategic autonomy may expand short-term options, but long-term survival for a state built on mobility of capital and people still rests within a stable Gulf framework. The UAE's gamble then is not just about oil. It's about strategic balance. If it strikes that balance, the UAE strengthens both its autonomy and long-term resilience. If it doesn't, it risks undermining regional cohesion, and with it, the stability that ultimately sustains its model.